Welcome to the Explainer. You know, decision making is something we do all day, every day. From what to have for lunch to, these huge life-altering career moves. Our entire lives are really just the sum of our decisions. And we all like to think we're pretty logical about it. But are we, really? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at how our minds actually work when it's time to make a choice.
So let me just ask you this straight up. When you've got a big decision on your plate, what do? I mean, do you actually bust out a spreadsheet, list every single pro and con, assign them all a score, and wait for some mathematically perfect answer to pop out? A lot of us think that's the ideal, right? But the reality, well, it's usually a whole lot messier.
All right, first things first, we have to talk about what I call the rationality illusion. It's this idea we all kind of have that when it comes to making choices, we operate like these perfect logical machines. This quote here, it really nails the core of what's called the economic model. It paints this picture of an ideal decider, sometimes they call him economic man, who is a flawless maximizer. He always chooses the path with the absolute greatest payoff. It's a really neat theory for sure, but it makes some pretty huge assumptions about what our brains are actually capable of.
Yeah, because let's be real, our minds are not supercomputers, not even close. We can't possibly gather and process every single shred of information for every choice we face. And that means the way we really decide is more intuitive, more gut-driven, and honestly, way more interesting than that perfect robotic idea.
So, to really get this, let's put these two decision makers head to head. A little showdown. In one corner, we've got the flawless, logical ideal. And in the other corner, we've got a much more familiar character, sometimes called administrative man. And the difference is just fascinating. Look at this. The ideal decider, our ecological man, is all about maximizing the best possible outcome. To do that, he has to gather all the info, analyze all the alternatives, and find the single best solution. But the real decider, that's us, we do things differently. We don't maximize. We do something called satisficing. We just look for an outcome that's good enough. We look at solutions one by one, and we use these mental shortcuts or heuristics to get by. And here's the kicker. We don't find the best solution. We find the first acceptable one, and then we just stop looking. Sound familiar? I thought so. So there's actually a name for all this. A big idea from Nobel laureate Herbert Simon. It's called bounded rationality. And the idea isn't that we're irrational, not at all. It's that our rationality is bounded or limited. We try to be logical, but we're held back by our own brain power, the info we can get, and the time we have. So settling for good enough isn't some kind of failure. It's actually an incredibly smart and efficient strategy for navigating a really complex world without just getting stuck in analysis paralysis.
But, it's not just about what's going on in our heads. The kind of problem we're up against also totally changes the game. Perfect, by-the-book rationality is often just plain impossible because, well, you can't always predict the future.
Just look at this spectrum here. On one end, you've got certainty. You know exactly what's going to happen. Think about putting money into a government bond. The return is totally fixed. Then in the middle, you've got risk. You can't know the future for sure, but you can use past data to calculate the odds, like a factory manager guessing how many defective products they'll have. But way over on the far end is pure uncertainty. The outcome is a total mystery. There's no data, no history, no way to figure out the probabilities. This is like launching a completely new, out-there ad campaign. The further you slide toward that uncertainty end, the less you can rely on cold, hard calculation, and the more you have to rely on judgment, on intuition, and on those good enough solutions.
Okay, so if we know we have this built-in tendency to just grab the first good enough solution that comes along, how do we push ourselves to find even better ones? Let's move from the theory to a really powerful practical tool for generating more and better options.
And that technique is brainstorming. But for it to really work, you got to follow these 4 essential rules. First, no criticism allowed, period. Judging ideas too early just shuts everything down. Second, freewheeling is not just welcome, it's encouraged. The wilder and crazier the idea, the better. It is way easier to tame a wild idea down than it is to think one up from nothing. Third, go for quantity over quality at first.
The more ideas you get out there, the higher the chances that a truly great one is in the mix. And fourth, look for ways to combine and improve. Listen to what other people are saying and build on their ideas. This whole process is designed specifically to fight that natural urge to just stop at the first decent idea. Now, making decisions in a group, you'd think that would be better, right? More people, more brain power, different perspectives. But nope, groups have their own psychological traps, and there's one that is especially sneaky and dangerous. And that big trap is called groupthink. It's what happens when everyone in the group wants to get along so badly that the desire for harmony and conformity completely overrides the need to make a smart, realistic choice. This pressure to just agree can crush critical thinking and lead to some really, really bad decisions. So what does this look like in the wild? Well, you'll see the group limit their search to just one or two options. They'll refuse to second-guess their chosen path, even when things start to look bad. They'll blow off advice from outside experts and only seem interested in facts that confirm what they already want to do. It's like a collective blind spot, a shared confirmation bias, and it can be absolutely disastrous.
So how do we fight this thing? The good news is there are some proven cures. Encourage every single person in the room to be a critical evaluator. If you're the leader, a huge one is to not state your own opinion at the beginning of the meeting. You can even appoint a devil's advocate, someone whose official job is to poke holes in the argument and challenge what everyone else is thinking. And here's one of my personal favorites. Schedule a second chance meeting. After you think you've made a decision, come back later to let people voice any doubts they were scared to bring up before. These little tricks can break that spell of consensus and bring real critical thinking back into the room.
So we've seen that the image we have of the perfectly logical decider, it's mostly a myth. We operate with bounded rationality, we satisfice instead of maximize, and when we're in groups, we are dangerously prone to conformity. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Now that you know about the illusion of perfect rationality, now that you know your brain prefers the good enough path, and you know the traps that are waiting, how will you decide differently next time? Will you push yourself to find just one more option? Will you be the devil's advocate in your next team meeting? Because thinking about how you decide, well, that's the very first step to deciding better.